Hey everyone, thank you so much for being here. It's me, Harry the Chatterbox, and as promised, I am doing my Black History Month videos this month. I hope everyone is enjoying their February and enjoying Black History Month with whatever festivities you're partaking in. So, this video, I am doing something a little bit different. Instead of talking about Black history figures, I want to talk about something that has been going on in social media and in the news recently. A lot of fashion houses have been incorporating blackface into their designs and accessories. And so I want to talk about the detrimental effect that those caricatures have had on us as a race and the history behind them. So without further ado, let's get into the video. So first we have to talk about what blackface is and define it. So blackface is the art of white people basically painting their faces in black paint and then exaggerating their lips with a lighter color to make themselves look like a black character. The first images of blackface were portrayed in the early 1800s, and there was a particularly popular blackface character named Jim Crow. He was originally played by Thomas Dartmouth Daddy Rice. He was a white man that played the Jim Crow character, and you may know Jim Crow because it is synonymous with Jim Crow laws. These laws were put into place from 1877 to 1954. Jim Crow was a minstrel character played all over the country, and it made Mr. Dartmouth very rich. Jim Crow, like many other black caricatures, portrayed black people in a very bad light. We were portrayed as lazy, illiterate, and all around pathetic, which was very different from the way black people actually were. But like all forms of media, it forms a stereotype to the watchers, and most people that were watching TV and movies during that time were white. And so we got this bad reputation of being people that we really weren't. It gave white people the idea that we were only good for doing manual labor and couldn't do labor using our brains. Jim Crow laws were just as oppressive as the black caricature they were synonymous with. The Plessy versus Ferguson case gave the state of Louisiana the right to separate black people from white people on railroad trains. This soon was adapted all over the South, but not exclusively to it. It separated black people from all types of public places, from bathrooms to lunch counters to water fountains and even libraries. So now that we've covered one of the most famous black caricatures in our country's history, let's talk about some other more common ones. One of the most common ones is the coon. As I stated before, most black caricatures were known to be lazy, unintelligent, and just all around uninformed. Well, the coon is no different, but one of the differences that he did have was that he was known as the man-child and did not know his place and attempted to keep up with white people. But in his attempt, he always failed and further reinforced the idea that black people were simply unintelligent and could not contribute as functioning pieces of society. In recent history, the modern day coon is simply just a black person that sells out their race and further helps the oppression of black people. An example of that is Omarosa. She went out of her way to cavort with Trump and then end up kind of failing and looking stupid herself. The next most well-known black caricature is the Mammy caricature. Now, modern day examples of the Mammy caricature are the black woman on the Aunt Jemima pancake mix box and the ever so lovable Tyler Perry's Madea. The Mammy character was a figment of the white imagination that simply just didn't exist, as in most black caricatures were. The Mammy caricature was a safe depiction of Black women politically and culturally. She was a large, big-breasted Black woman that kept her hair wrapped up in a scarf. She was loyal to a fault, too busy raising her white slave owners' children to be worried about freedom. This was far from what actual maids during the time did. Of course, they did the duties of a Mammy caricature, but they were also extremely devoted to their own families and often resented the lowly situations that they were forced to live in. The next Black caricature is often used and is a little crappy, in my opinion. She's the Sapphire character. She's the sassy Black friend, or the ABW, or as you know it, Angry Black Woman. She can be found in any of your favorite movies or television shows. She's kind of like the friend on the side, the supporting actors. Yeah, that girl. The Sapphire character is a harsh depiction of Black women that do not conform to the societal norm that women should be seen and not heard. She is often depicted as going around being bitter and berating her Black male counterparts for the shit that they do in everyday situations. She's a complainer, and she is just oftentimes horribly angry. It gives Black women the idea that they should go around and be non-threatening and never say what's on their mind, even if what they're saying is true. So what do we learn today? Well, we learn that Black caricatures are horrible depictions of Black people. Why? Because they weren't even how we actually are. And yes, stereotypes hold an ounce of truth in any race or space, but it shouldn't hold so much truth that it is a detriment to how we move in the world economically and socially. There were literally laws that were put into place to oppress Black people for 77 years, named after a Black caricature, which, as you know, was overturned in 1954 with the Brown versus Board of Education case, which allowed Black children to integrate into white schools. So why would you want to associate your luxury high-end fashion designs with something so heinous? Right, you shouldn't. Well, that's all I have for you today, guys. I thank you guys so much for watching, and if you ever see a person at a Halloween party or on the latest runway wearing blackface or something associated with blackface, I give you permission to call that shit out. Thank you so much for watching, and let me know anything, whether you learned something about blackface or if you have your own information about blackface down below in the comments. I thank you so much for watching, because you could have been anywhere else on the internet, but you decided to watch me. Bye.